Hey Nesters! Today I am taking you thrift shopping with me. We are going to Goodwill looking for anything vintage we can rescue and either keep or resell to someone else who can appreciate it. So let's see what the thrifting at Goodwill looks like today. Now normally when I look at the coffee mug section, there are just a ton of mugs. They're all mix and match and never any sets. And today, for whatever reason, there were several sets of coffee mugs, and they were both very nice. The two that I found, the main two I found, but there were a lot of one-offs as well that were vintage. They had a beer stein here, and there are some like this here, the Studebaker on it, super cute. So there was a lot to look through today, and I was happy with the mug selection for sure. This beer stein looked really neat. It appeared to be hand painted. It wasn't very expensive at all. And I just really like the colors to it. I like the brighter colors. Normally you see the beer steins in that very basic tan brown kind of color, and I thought that one was fun. So I continued to look through the coffee mugs, and underneath on the bottom I found this really cool vintage Japan coffee mug set, and it had the beautiful florals on it. As I kept pulling them off the shelf, they had two purple, and then the next one was actually this beautiful pink flower, but they, of course, were all part of the same set. One of the tricky things while you're at the thrift store is, of course, having to check things over for condition issues. You don't know if people have gotten rid of these items because they were just sick of them, if someone has passed away and they just were donating them, or if maybe one or two pieces had some condition issues that they just didn't want in their home anymore. So you always have to be careful and look everything over. So it takes a while. You don't just see it and, put it in your cart like you would at a regular store. But with that being said, as a vintage reseller, people know when they're buying vintage items that they're not going to be in pristine, perfect condition. So you kind of have to just decide if the item is worth it, if someone would actually want it with the condition issues. I usually leave stuff behind that has chips or, significant wear to the paint or something like that. Maybe not knickknacks, because the knickknacks are, it's not food-based, so you're not really going to eat off it. I don't feel the paint chipping and stuff like that is as crucial as on the dinnerware. So I really thought this Oregon coffee mug was quite beautiful. I love the scenery on it, and I love that it had this beautiful lavender color on the inside of it. There never seems to be a shortage in supply of vases at the thrift store, am I right? I thought that pink and white two-toned one was kind of neat. It might have even been hand painted. You know how they can kind of spray the inside of a glass one. I'm not sure if that was the case. This drip one was really cool. There was a chip on the bottom, unfortunately, but that was really nice and kind of unique. And then I found this vintage yellow one. It looks more like a canister and missing its lid, of course, and it almost looks like depression glass to me. I couldn't quite tell from the video footage. This bottle here had quite an odd shape to it. I'm assuming it's something to do with wine or some kind of alcohol. I don't really know what that was about, but it was definitely a first for me. I've never seen that before. There seems to never be a shortage of this kind of camp style decor. This is a beautiful duck. That is, of course, a toothbrush holder. I thought that was pretty cute. And then we're getting into some of the smaller vases, the more vintage ones. I believe this one was metal, and it was pretty neat. Looked like it was a Japan piece. This vase is pretty. I like the double handles on it. It's from Brazil, and it kind of has that luster-wear look to it. I feel like vases are something I'm always gravitating towards while I'm thrifting for resale, but I don't feel like it's something I use in my own home too much. I have a few, but it's not something I use very often. It's more just sitting there as decor. I don't really do the cut flower thing. So I'm curious, let me know in the comments below, how often do you guys use your vases? Are they something you just use for decor and they kind of just sit on your shelf, or do you actually frequently put cut flowers in them? I have never seen vases like this before. They're absolutely adorable. There's little bud vases, and they have these guitars on them. Now, I have a family that is filled with musicians, so these definitely struck me as something very special and very sentimental. And that's just it right there. That is one of my favorite things about thrifting. You find those items that just really strike you. They bring back memories, or they just remind you of loved ones or anything in your past, and you just kind of get the smile on your face that you don't normally do at the regular box stores, right? So it's a very fun feeling, and I really like being a reseller because I can connect people with those same memories from their past and put the same smiles on their faces. So it's definitely a very fun job for me, and I always love hearing everyone's stories behind the pieces when they do purchase them from me. So I do appreciate hearing those stories and when people write in, so it's very fun. I know it's getting a little late in this season to be picking up items such as fall leaves, but I really like that. It was a votive candle holder, I believe, of some sort, and I like the coloring on it. It was a little more unique. It had almost a pink tone to it. I always find it interesting that everyone has their own unique thrifting style. There's always those items that we gravitate towards, right? It seems like the pottery things are something I tend to always look at myself. Bells, my goodness, the bells I've been coming across lately, it's just crazy. It's not something I'm normally into. I don't really collect them myself, but I have been dabbling and picking a few up here and there just to try for resale purposes online to see how they're going to do. I haven't sold any yet, so I don't think I'm going to pick up too many more, but I guess some of them are kind of nice. They're just a kind of very different item that you don't really expect people to have in their homes. The things you find. I don't know. How do you guys feel about mice and decor? It's not really my thing. I found this really interesting panda toothpick holder. It had the pull-off top, which is kind of nice. You get typically the ones that don't have the covers, so you can probably get dust buildup on the toothpicks since you can't really use the toothpicks too often. So I like that feature. It's really a good idea, I believe. There's always so many random items to sift through at the thrift store, and a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy doing that. I think that is why the online reselling market is so doing so well, because there are people either, one, they don't enjoy looking through the items and having to find out what they want out of the pile, or maybe they just can't get out and do the shopping, but they still would really like those older items. So I think resellers really are a little bit underappreciated sometimes in that manner. I know some people think resellers charge too much, but we put a lot of work into finding the items, cleaning them, taking pictures, listing them, shipping them out, advertising them so people can find them. There's a lot of work that goes into it that people don't realize. That's why we have to obviously charge more than what we've paid for at the store, right? So something that does get a little bit confusing as a reseller, though, is when it's just turning winter, right? It's snowing and you're already thinking about the next season, like spring perhaps. So you come across these items and you think, yeah, I probably should plan ahead and start picking up some of those things. So, I'm ready and good to go when the time comes. But yeah, it's a little weird because you do have to prepare for seasons ahead of time while you're trying to celebrate the current change of season. Up on the top shelf, they have these really neat Columbia coasters, like kind of this leather material, and they have their own little caddy. I thought they were really neat. I did look up comps on them. They didn't sell for too much, and the condition of those, when I ended up taking them out, were kind of not the greatest, so I ended up having to leave them behind, but had they been in good condition, I probably still would have risked it. I thought they were pretty neat. This bottle was very interesting as well. It seemed to be a wine decanter of some sort with a very interesting graphic on it. And I do like green glassware, but this piece looked kind of phallic to me. I just couldn't get into it. And there were even more bells down here on the lower shelf. I saw this interesting ceramic piece on the bottom. It looked like some kind of a yard ornament that you would, hang up in your lawn somehow, but I decided not to get that. I was pretty disappointed in the figurine selection today. Normally I see all kinds, but they only had a few of interest to me, and the shelves were kind of bare, really. They had this beautiful depiction of the Last Supper on this kind of cloth artwork, and it's super large. I still sometimes I don't feel the best about buying religious things to resell. The Christmas stuff, for whatever reason, I don't feel as convicted about, but just like the everyday kind of a religious decor, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what my deal is with that. I know there are some people that like to decorate with it, and there's some people that don't because they don't believe we are supposed to, so I just don't know. Always so many teddy bear items in the Christmas stuff, and mice. I don't know what it is with those two things. That's what I seem to come across a lot at the thrift store. I'm always, of course, looking for the vintage Santas for my own collection, or just really unique vintage ornaments, and maybe even nativity sets, which is, it seems kind of counterintuitive since I don't want to really get the religious items, but then the nativity sets I do go ahead and pick up. So I don't know. It's a confusing subject, really. My friend Lindsay over at Mad Girls Vintage just showed these lucite candles she bought, and I'm kind of obsessed and kind of want to get some myself, and I think this would look gorgeous with those inside of it. Are you excited for the Christmas season and to start to get decorating? Let me know how many of you guys have actually started decorating already and have your tree up. See, the mouse. That one was actually really cute. It was a little piece of cheese and it was a candlestick with a mice around it. I don't like mice, but I did think that was kind of adorable, actually. They had a bunch of modern Christmas mugs, so I could just tell by glancing real quick there. And I did spy this vintage tray on the bottom shelf, but once I took it out, I could see it had a pretty significant scratching throughout it, so I decided not to grab it. I wish that would have been in good condition because that was really cute. I saw a couple of interesting blankets here. This one on the top is an Arizona Diamondbacks throw, and they're really good quality. They're a nice heavy-duty blanket. The one underneath is filled with all kinds of types of lighthouses, and I, had to open it all up, and it did have some snags in it, so I did keep one of these, and I had to leave one behind because of the snag, so you guys can stay tuned for the haul to see which one I picked up. I'm guessing now that it's the season where people are starting to pull out all of their blankets, we will start seeing more show up in the thrift stores as they get new ones for Christmas, or they're just, find themselves with too many, right? That happens often. So I found this quilt here, and they were asking $13 for it. It's probably not a bad price, but for whatever reason, I thought it was a little high at the time for the size of it. I think it was only about a twin size. And I really liked this I really like rainbow colors. It reminded me of the 1980s, and it had these weird straps on it. I was all set to get it, and then I didn't quite understand the straps, so I'm really not even sure what that is. I didn't bother to pull it all the way down. I probably should have now that I'm watching it. I kind of am still curious about it. So I like this small bin here. I look in it quite often and find some interesting vintage linens. I really love the pattern on this piece of linen. I was super confused by what it was. Initially I thought it was just a table runner, and then I saw there was this little pocket in it. There's a string on it. There is a dowel. It was quite confusing, and when you only have one hand, it gets a little rocky, right? So I'm going to go ahead and edit right here so you guys don't have to see that. I'm still not quite sure what it's supposed to be. Some type of a wall hanging. Probably looks really well with boho decor. This collector's souvenir plate was the most confusing thing. It had Maine, Massachusetts turnpikes on it with the Plymouth Rock and the Mayflower. So I just don't get that. I'm not sure who made it, and I'm not sure who bought it. Plymouth is in Massachusetts. I guess maybe their reasoning is Maine used to be a part of Massachusetts before we became our own state, but I don't really, understand it beyond that. This is one thing that irritates me. They always put the price tags on the bottoms of these heavy shelves. It did say $5, and there was a significant crack, as you saw on the bottom. So I think they priced it an okay, price for what it was. The crack was probably an easy fix if someone was really into that. I really like this coffee mug here. I believe it might even be an ode to Gary, and I thought it was really beautiful. I don't come across those too often. I was looking at rising trending topics the other day just out of curiosity, and to my surprise I saw Beanie Babies on there. Do you guys really think those will have another, time to shine? Apparently, according to this research, there is going to be an uprise of them soon. I'm not sure when that's going to be, so it might be something if you happen across them and you can get them for cheap. It might be a good idea to go ahead and pick them up and hold on to them and see what happens. So something to think about. I hope you guys are enjoying this thrift along with me. If you guys are new to my channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to be notified whenever my videos go up. I usually post just about every day. Sometimes I have to take a day here and there off because I do have 2 small children and I'm a mama first, so for the most part I do post every day, and this is a thrifting and reselling content channel, and I do tend to stick with the vintage items as much as possible. You can see everything that I picked up today while I was thrifting in tomorrow's thrift haul video, so make sure you are subscribed, and we will catch you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!